Chloe Sanders and Ethan Sanders were not just any ordinary couple living in Los Angeles, California. By 2020, they had transformed their lives into a carefully curated show broadcast to the world through Instagram. With more than 2 million followers combined, their feed was a gallery of luxury cars, designer clothes, lavish vacations, and smiling selfies that convinced fans they were the picture of a perfect modern marriage. To many young viewers, they embodied the dream life: youthful, beautiful, rich, and seemingly inseparable. Their mansion in the upscale neighborhood of Beverly Hills only strengthened this image, complete with marble floors, glass walls, and an infinity pool that overlooked the city lights. But behind those glossy photographs was a very different reality. Their relationship had begun like a whirlwind romance. Chloe, originally from Miami, had worked as a fashion blogger before gaining attention on social media. Ethan, who grew up in San Diego, had pursued photography and video production. Their talents combined smoothly when they met in 2016 at a sponsored event in Las Vegas. Chloe was immediately drawn to Ethan's charm, and Ethan saw in Chloe the kind of rising star he wanted to capture with his camera. Within a year they were married, and their brand as the Sanders couple was born. Their early years together online were filled with promise. Followers loved their authentic travel vlogs, playful banter, and coordinated photo shoots. Sponsorship deals from clothing brands, tech companies, and luxury hotels soon followed. By 2018, they had signed with a major agency in Los Angeles, which began to market them as a power couple influencer brand. Money poured in, and with it came a lifestyle neither of them had experienced before: chauffeured cars, luxury watches, private parties, and front-row seats at fashion weeks in Paris and New York. Yet, with success came tension. Ethan was often credited as the man behind the camera, while Chloe became the recognizable face of their joint accounts. Brands increasingly wanted Chloe alone in their campaigns, citing her charisma, looks, and appeal to female audiences. Ethan, though praised for his photography skills, began to feel overshadowed. By 2019, small cracks had formed in their marriage. Arguments over finances became common. Ethan believed he deserved equal recognition and payment for their brand, while Chloe insisted that she was the one people followed and adored. Their fights were not visible online, but neighbors occasionally overheard shouting matches late at night in their Beverly Hills home. The global pandemic in 2020 only heightened these issues. While many businesses struggled, influencer marketing thrived, and the Sanders couple saw their income nearly double. Chloe adapted quickly, focusing on lifestyle and beauty deals, while Ethan tried to pitch more creative projects involving video production and travel documentaries. But travel restrictions limited his ideas, and brands kept asking for Chloe specifically. Ethan's frustration grew. Friends later recalled that Ethan had confided in them about feeling like an employee rather than a partner in his own marriage. Still, they maintained appearances. Their Instagram feed continued to portray dreamlike vacations in Mexico, rooftop dinners in Los Angeles, and smiling, candid moments. Chloe often used the caption "Forever Us," while Ethan added enthusiastic comments under her posts to reassure followers of their strong bond. But privately, resentment brewed. Ethan began drinking more heavily, especially at social events and during long nights at home. Chloe, meanwhile, focused on expanding her personal brand, signing deals independently whenever she could. By early 2021, Chloe had secured negotiations for a multi-million-dollar beauty endorsement deal under her own name, without including Ethan. For her, it was a step toward independence as an influencer. For Ethan, it was a betrayal. He believed they had built everything together and that excluding him from such a major opportunity was proof that Chloe no longer valued him as a partner, either in business or in life. Their friends and colleagues noticed the growing distance. Some said Chloe looked increasingly detached in private gatherings, while Ethan seemed jealous and insecure. On camera, however, they remained flawless. They hosted live Q&A sessions for fans, took carefully posed photos by their pool, and spoke about future plans to start a family. Nobody suspected how strained their relationship had become behind closed doors. This was the world of Chloe and Ethan Sanders, one of filtered happiness, hidden arguments, and a delicate balance between love and ambition. What the world saw was perfection, but beneath it all, a dangerous mixture of envy, pride, and unresolved anger was waiting to erupt. And by the summer of 2021, in the middle of a warm Los Angeles night, their carefully constructed world would collapse in a way that shocked both fans and investigators. The night of July 14, 2021, in Beverly Hills, California, began like many others in the Sanders residence. The sprawling modern house, located in a gated neighborhood off Benedict Canyon Drive, stood as a symbol of the wealth and success Chloe and Ethan Sanders had earned from their online empire. From the outside, nothing appeared unusual. The sky was clear, the pool lights reflected softly against the water, and the soft hum of music could be heard from inside the house. But inside those glass walls, the tension between Chloe and Ethan was nearing its breaking point. That day had been particularly eventful for Chloe. Earlier in the afternoon, she had met with representatives from a major beauty brand in downtown Los Angeles to finalize a multi-million-dollar endorsement deal. It was the biggest contract of her career, set to launch her as the face of a new luxury skincare line. What made the deal even more significant was that it was signed exclusively under her name, not as part of the Sanders couple brand. Chloe had chosen not to include Ethan, a decision she justified as strictly business. To her, it was a matter of professional recognition. To Ethan, it felt like betrayal. Ethan had been at home during the meeting. Friends later reported that he had spent the afternoon drinking, scrolling through social media, and sending messages to close confidants about his frustrations. His words carried bitterness. He complained that Chloe no longer saw him as her partner and that he was being pushed into the background while she took the spotlight. By the time Chloe returned home in the evening, Ethan's mood was already dark. Neighbors later told police they heard raised voices coming from the Sanders house around 9 p.m. One described the argument as heated and sharp, though they could not make out exact words. Inside, Chloe and Ethan fought about the contract, money, and who truly deserved credit for their success. The argument moved from the living room to the outdoor patio by the pool, where cameras silently recorded the night. From the outside world's perspective, Chloe and Ethan were still the couple everyone admired. Just hours earlier, Chloe had uploaded a polished Instagram story showing her in a designer dress, smiling with a glass of champagne in hand, captioned, "Celebrating New Beginnings." Ethan reposted it with a short heart emoji, masking the turmoil at home. To millions of followers, it looked like another glamorous evening in Beverly Hills. No one could have guessed it would be Ethan's last night alive. When police and paramedics were called to the Sanders home just after midnight, the official report described the scene as chaotic. Ethan was found at the bottom of the swimming pool, unresponsive. Chloe told officers that Ethan had been drinking heavily, stumbled near the edge of the pool and fell in. She insisted she tried to help but could not pull him out in time. Paramedics attempted resuscitation, but Ethan was pronounced dead at 12:47 a.m. on July 15, 2021. The news spread quickly. Within hours, entertainment blogs and news outlets reported the sudden death of Ethan Sanders, husband of influencer Chloe Sanders. Fans flooded Chloe's Instagram with messages of support and condolences. The initial narrative appeared simple: a tragic accident caused by alcohol, the kind of misfortune that could happen to anyone. Chloe posted a black and white photo of Ethan the next morning with the caption, "My heart is broken. I lost my best friend, my partner, my everything." The post received over 1 million likes in less than 24 hours. But detectives at the Beverly Hills Police Department were not entirely convinced. Something about Chloe's account did not align with the evidence. For one, Ethan had no visible injuries that would suggest he slipped or hit his head. Second, the layout of the pool area included multiple cameras connected to a home security system. Detectives quickly requested the footage, knowing it could shed light on Ethan's final moments. Meanwhile, the public's fascination with the case grew rapidly. The Sanders were not just a married couple, they were celebrities in the digital age. Every detail of their lives had been shared online, from luxury vacations to intimate date nights. Now, with Ethan's death, fans and media outlets dug through their past posts, looking for signs of trouble. Old videos were rewatched, captions were analyzed, and conspiracy theories spread across Twitter and Reddit. Some fans defended Chloe fiercely, saying she was devastated and innocent. Others speculated that the glamorous influencer might have had darker motives. The couple's brand deals also came under scrutiny. Business analysts noted that Chloe's new endorsement contract had been signed just days before Ethan's death. The timing raised questions about whether money or jealousy had played a role in their argument. For detectives, the motive became clear: fame, fortune, and control over their growing empire. As the days passed, Chloe's behavior also attracted attention. She attended Ethan's private funeral dressed in black designer clothing, wearing large sunglasses to cover her face. Cameras captured her arriving alone, without family or close friends at her side. Some attendees whispered about her composure, saying she appeared more focused on controlling media coverage than on mourning. Within a week, she was back to posting cryptic quotes and polished images on Instagram, fueling further speculation. By late July 2021, the case of Ethan Sanders' death had evolved from a private tragedy to a public spectacle. The Beverly Hills Police Department announced that they were treating the incident not as an accident but as a suspicious death. The focus turned directly to Chloe, the only person present at the time of Ethan's drowning, the one who stood to gain the most from his absence, and the woman whose carefully constructed life was about to unravel under the weight of evidence. The turning point in the story of Ethan Sanders' death came when investigators at the Beverly Hills Police Department reviewed the security footage from the Sanders residence. The footage covered the pool area, patio, and parts of the living room. Detectives had expected the video to confirm Chloe's version of events, that Ethan, heavily intoxicated, stumbled and fell into the pool while alone. But what they saw painted a far more troubling picture. The recording from 11:42 p.m. on July 14, 2021, showed Ethan walking unsteadily onto the patio. He was holding a half-empty bottle of whiskey, his movements erratic. A few minutes later, Chloe appeared. She was calm, dressed in a silk robe, holding her phone in one hand. At first, their interaction seemed ordinary, but the conversation quickly escalated. Though the camera did not capture audio, their body language told the story. Ethan gestured angrily, pointing at Chloe. Chloe folded her arms, then raised her voice. At one point, Ethan slammed the whiskey bottle on the patio table, startling Chloe. The footage continued. At 11:55 p.m., Ethan stood at the edge of the pool, pacing back and forth. Chloe followed him, standing just a few feet behind. They argued for several more minutes, with Ethan appearing increasingly unstable. Finally, at 12:03 a.m., Ethan moved closer to the pool, pointing toward Chloe with visible frustration. Chloe stepped forward, her arms raised. Then, in one sudden movement, Ethan lost his balance. Whether he slipped or was pushed could not be clearly determined from the video, but Chloe's reaction, or lack thereof, was striking. Instead of rushing immediately to help, Chloe stood still, watching as Ethan fell into the water. The footage showed Ethan splashing, struggling to stay afloat, and then gradually sinking. For nearly 2 minutes, Chloe remained by the edge, pacing back and forth but making no clear attempt to pull him out. Only after Ethan stopped moving did she pick up her phone and dial emergency services. This video became the foundation of the investigation. Detectives saw it as evidence that Chloe had more involvement in Ethan's death than she initially claimed. Her insistence that Ethan's fall had been an accident seemed less credible in light of her delayed reaction. To the police, the question was no longer whether Ethan's death was suspicious. It was whether Chloe had deliberately let him drown. The discovery of the footage marked the official beginning of the criminal case. Detectives visited Chloe again on July 17, 2021, this time with sharper questions. They asked why she did not immediately attempt to rescue Ethan. Chloe responded with a mixture of defensiveness and emotion. She claimed she had panicked, that she did not know how to swim well, and that she feared being pulled under if she jumped in. "I froze," she told them. "I didn't know what to do." While this explanation might have been believable to some, investigators noticed inconsistencies. For example, friends later testified that Chloe was a confident swimmer, frequently posting poolside photos and vacation videos in which she swam without hesitation. Meanwhile, toxicology reports revealed that Ethan's blood alcohol concentration was well over the legal limit, supporting the idea that he had been intoxicated. But the report also indicated traces of prescription medication, later identified as sedatives. Investigators wanted to know how those substances entered his system. Ethan did not have a prescription for them, and Chloe initially denied knowing anything about it. The combination of alcohol and sedatives would have made it almost impossible for Ethan to fight for his life once in the water. The case gained further traction when detectives dug into the couple's financial records. They found that just days before Ethan's death, Chloe had signed the lucrative beauty contract exclusively in her name. The deal was worth nearly $3 million over 2 years, with Chloe as the sole spokesperson. Investigators noted that Ethan had expressed anger about the contract to friends, claiming it was unfair and that Chloe was cutting him out of everything. The financial motive became clear. With Ethan gone, Khloe would not have to share the profits or recognition. As this evidence surfaced, public opinion began to shift. The same fans who had flooded Khloe's Instagram with messages of sympathy now questioned her story. Online forums dissected the CCTV footage frame by frame, pointing out moments where Khloe appeared calm rather than panicked. Hashtags like #JusticeForEthan and #WhatHappenedAtThePool trended on Twitter. The glamorous image Khloe had cultivated for years was unraveling. Detectives also spoke with the Sanders inner circle, assistants, business managers, and friends. Several of them described Ethan as deeply insecure in the months leading up to his death, particularly about Khloe's growing independence. Others claimed Khloe often dismissed Ethan's concerns, calling him jealous and paranoid. One assistant told police she had overheard Khloe saying she was done being tied down, and that the brand would be stronger without him. Statements like these painted Khloe as someone who may have seen Ethan as an obstacle to her career rather than a partner. On July 20, 2021, nearly a week after Ethan's death, police officially classified the case as a homicide investigation. The announcement made national headlines. News anchors described the situation as a collision of fame, fortune, and fatal consequences. Media trucks gathered outside Khloe's Beverly Hills mansion, capturing footage of her leaving in designer clothing, often shielding her face with sunglasses. The influencer who once courted attention now found herself under a spotlight she could not control. For investigators, the inciting incident, the combination of the CCTV footage, toxicology results, and financial motive, was enough to escalate the case. What had begun as a tragic accident was now a suspected murder, with Khloe Sanders at the center. The glamorous couple once adored online was now torn apart in the harsh light of criminal suspicion, and the world watched as every private detail of their life became public evidence. The initial investigation into Ethan Sanders' death intensified in the weeks following July 15, 2021. What had first been reported as a tragic accident began to unfold as a case layered with suspicion, motive, and hidden truths. Detectives from the Beverly Hills Police Department worked closely with forensic teams, financial analysts, and digital experts to piece together what really happened on the night Ethan drowned. The first step was to secure all possible physical evidence from the Sanders residence. The pool area was examined in detail. Investigators looked for signs of a struggle, scratches on the patio, broken glass, or any disturbance in the surrounding furniture. They noted the whiskey bottle left on the table, half full, with Ethan's fingerprints but also Khloe's on the neck and cap. Though fingerprints alone could not prove anything, the detail added to their suspicions, particularly given Ethan's toxicology results. Inside the house, detectives searched for medications or substances that could explain the sedatives in Ethan's system. In a bathroom cabinet, they found a prescription bottle of alprazolam, a common sedative, prescribed not to Ethan but to Khloe. The date on the label showed it had been filled just 2 weeks before Ethan's death. Khloe claimed the medication was for her anxiety and insomnia, conditions she occasionally spoke about in interviews. But investigators wanted to know whether Ethan's bloodstream levels of the drug could have come from an accidental ingestion, or if someone had given it to him deliberately. Digital forensics became another crucial part of the case. Detectives obtained warrants to access Khloe and Ethan's phones, laptops, and cloud storage. From Ethan's phone, they recovered text messages he had sent to close friends on the evening of July 14. In one, sent at 10:38 p.m., Ethan wrote, "She signed the deal without me. I can't believe it. She doesn't need me anymore." Another message at 11:15 p.m. read, "We're fighting again. I'm tired of this. If anything happens to me, just know she pushed me out of everything." These texts suggested that Ethan had been deeply distressed and suspicious about Khloe's intentions just hours before his death. Khloe's phone revealed another side of the story. Detectives found recent communications with her manager and representatives from the beauty brand. In one message dated July 10, she wrote, "Ethan is not part of this deal. Please keep it under my name only." While not incriminating by itself, the message added to the narrative of Khloe distancing herself from her husband in both business and personal matters. More troubling, on the night of July 14th, Khloe had texted her assistant at 11:50 p.m., minutes before Ethan fell into the pool, saying, "He's drunk again. I can't deal with this anymore." The timing of the message raised questions about her state of mind during the final moments of Ethan's life. Financial investigators also dug into the couple's accounts. They discovered multiple joint accounts with large sums of money, but they also found a separate account in Chloe's name with recent transfers totaling nearly $500,000. The transfers coincided with negotiations for her solo endorsement deal. Detectives began to suspect that Chloe was preparing for a future without Ethan, both professionally and financially. Friends and associates were interviewed as part of the initial investigation. Several friends confirmed that Ethan had been drinking more heavily in recent months, often expressing jealousy and insecurity about Chloe's success. One friend, a fellow influencer named Jason Ramirez, told police, "Ethan felt like he was disappearing. He told me a week before he died that he was scared Chloe didn't want him around anymore." Another friend, however, defended Chloe, saying she had tried to support Ethan but that his drinking and temper made their fights escalate quickly. Chloe herself was questioned multiple times. In the first days after Ethan's death, she presented herself as a grieving widow, tearful but cooperative. She repeated her version of events. Ethan had been drunk, lost his balance and fell into the pool. She claimed she panicked and could not react quickly enough. But as detectives confronted her with the CCTV footage and toxicology reports, her answers grew less convincing. When asked why she waited nearly 2 minutes before calling 911, Chloe said, "It felt like forever. I was in shock. Time just froze." Detectives were unconvinced. They also questioned her about the prescription sedatives. Chloe admitted she had the medication but denied ever giving it to Ethan. "He must have taken it himself," she insisted. Yet friends told police Ethan avoided prescription drugs and rarely took anything stronger than painkillers. The discrepancy deepened suspicion. The media frenzy surrounding the case complicated matters further. News outlets camped outside the Sanders home. Reporters followed Chloe to grocery stores, gyms, and even to her lawyer's office. Public opinion was split. Some believed Chloe was a victim of circumstance, unfairly judged because of her fame and wealth. Others were convinced she had orchestrated Ethan's death for money and freedom. Social media platforms became battlegrounds of speculation, with hashtags like #ChloeDidIt and #JusticeForEthan trending daily. Despite the noise, detectives focused on building a case. They did not yet have enough evidence to charge Chloe with murder, but they had assembled a strong foundation. Inconsistent statements, suspicious financial activity, toxicology results, and damning surveillance footage. The challenge was proving intent. Did Chloe actively cause Ethan's death, or did she simply fail to save him? By early August 2021, the initial investigation concluded with a clear direction. Detectives recommended the case be escalated to the district attorney's office for further review. They believed Chloe's actions and omissions on the night of July 14 pointed to criminal responsibility. The DA agreed to take the case, beginning preparations for what promised to be one of the most sensational trials Los Angeles had seen in years. For Chloe Sanders, the woman who once built her empire on curated images of perfection, the walls were closing in. The glamorous life she displayed online had turned into a public spectacle of suspicion and scandal. The initial investigation had transformed her from grieving widow to prime suspect. The story was no longer about a tragic accident. It was about whether fame and fortune had driven a woman to let her husband drown. By the second week of August 2021, when detectives were nearly ready to submit their findings to the district attorney, the case of Ethan Sanders' death took an unexpected turn. Just as investigators felt they were closing in on Chloe, new evidence surfaced that complicated the narrative and introduced an entirely different layer of suspicion. The twist began with the retrieval of additional digital files from Ethan's cloud account. Detectives initially believed they had already extracted all relevant data from his phone and laptop. But when forensic analysts dug deeper into encrypted folders, they discovered dozens of voice recordings and draft emails Ethan had been keeping in private. These files revealed not only his emotional turmoil but also his suspicions that Chloe might harm him. In one recording dated July 9, just 5 days before his death, Ethan said, "If anything happens to me, it's not an accident. Chloe's been planning her life without me. I can feel it." At first glance, these recordings seemed to strengthen the case against Chloe. But investigators soon uncovered something that shifted the focus. Among Ethan's files were references to a person named Liam, someone Chloe had apparently been in close contact with for months. Detectives tracked down the communications and discovered hundreds of text messages between Chloe and a Los Angeles-based personal trainer named Liam Carter. The messages painted a picture of a relationship far more intimate than professional. In texts exchanged in late June 2021, Chloe wrote, "Ethan is driving me crazy. I just want out of this. You're the only one who understands me." Liam responded, "You don't need him. You deserve better. We'll figure it out." Another message on July 12, just 2 days before Ethan's death, showed Chloe saying, "Once the deal is signed, things will be different. I won't let him ruin this for me." The revelation of Chloe's possible affair changed the trajectory of the investigation. What had initially been about money and jealousy now included potential infidelity and conspiracy. Detectives considered the possibility that Chloe's desire to be free from Ethan was not only professional but also personal. If she had a lover waiting on the sidelines, the motive for Ethan's removal became even stronger. Investigators quickly called Liam Carter in for questioning. The 32-year-old trainer admitted to knowing Chloe but downplayed their relationship. He claimed they had trained together for months and developed a friendship, but denied any romantic involvement. "She vented about her marriage," Liam told police, "but that's it. I didn't know anything about Ethan's death until I saw it on the news." Detectives, however, were not convinced. The messages told a different story, one that suggested emotional intimacy at the very least, and possibly a plan to start a new life without Ethan. The discovery of Liam and the affair rumors leaked to the press within days. Tabloid headlines exploded, "Influencer widow had secret lover," and "Murder, money and infidelity, the Chloe Sanders story." For Chloe, the damage to her public image was devastating. Brands began to pull back from partnerships, citing reputational concerns. The multimillion-dollar beauty deal she had celebrated just weeks earlier was put on hold pending the outcome of the investigation. Her once loyal followers turned against her, flooding her posts with accusations and harsh comments. Meanwhile, detectives pursued another unexpected angle. A neighbor provided a tip that on the night of July 14th, they had seen a man leaving the Sanders property around 10:30 p.m., before the fight by the pool. The neighbor could not identify him clearly, but the description, a tall man in athletic clothing, matched Liam Carter. This raised new questions. Had Liam been at the house that night? If so, why did Chloe fail to mention it in her statements? When confronted, Chloe denied that Liam was present. She insisted she had been alone with Ethan during the argument and drowning. But phone records contradicted her. Data showed Chloe had exchanged 3 short calls with Liam earlier that evening, one as late as 10:45 p.m. The timing aligned closely with the neighbor's account. While not conclusive, the evidence suggested Liam might have visited the house before Ethan's death. The twist did not end there. Forensic experts re-examined the CCTV footage after rumors about Liam surfaced. Though he did not appear on the poolside recordings, a faint reflection captured by one of the glass doors suggested another figure might have been present earlier in the evening. The reflection was blurred and indistinct, but it opened the possibility that Chloe was not entirely alone in the hours leading up to Ethan's drowning. This revelation forced investigators to reconsider the timeline. If Liam had indeed been at the house, had he confronted Ethan? Did Chloe and Liam plan something together? Or was Liam merely a visitor who left before the fatal argument? These questions created doubt, but they also expanded the scope of potential conspiracy. For prosecutors, the twist was both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, Chloe's apparent infidelity and her communications with Liam painted a stronger motive for murder. On the other hand, introducing another potential suspect complicated the narrative. A straightforward case of one spouse letting the other drown now risked becoming a tangled web of conspiracy, jealousy, and hidden relationships. Public reaction to the twist was explosive. Commentators on talk shows debated whether Chloe was a cold manipulator or a woman trapped in a toxic marriage. Some argued Ethan's recordings proved he feared his wife and predicted his own death. Others pointed out that Chloe had not been formally charged yet and that the media frenzy was convicting her before a trial. Still, the majority of online voices leaned toward believing she was guilty, if not of physically killing Ethan, then at least of letting him die. By late August, the twist had fully shifted the course of the case. Chloe was no longer seen only as a grieving widow or even as a sole suspect. She was now part of a potential scandal involving betrayal, hidden lovers, and calculated decisions. Detectives redoubled their efforts to connect Liam to the crime, while prosecutors prepared to argue that Chloe's motive for Ethan's death went beyond money. It was about freedom, independence, and possibly a future with another man. The midpoint twist of the case transformed it from a suspicious drowning into a sensational criminal saga that gripped Los Angeles and beyond. What really happened that night remained unclear, but one fact was certain. The truth was far darker and more complicated than anyone had initially believed. As summer in Los Angeles turned to early September 2021, the case of Ethan Sanders had reached its boiling point. What began as whispers of suspicion had now erupted into a full-scale criminal drama. Detectives had gathered hours of footage, piles of financial documents, and damning digital messages. Public curiosity was at its peak, and every development made national news. At the center of it all was Chloe Sanders, once celebrated as half of a glamorous influencer couple, now fighting to defend herself against mounting evidence and intensifying accusations. The conflict escalated when the Beverly Hills Police Department officially named Chloe a person of interest in Ethan's death. Though she had not been arrested yet, the label alone was enough to signal that investigators believed she bore responsibility. Chloe responded by hiring a high-profile defense attorney, Mark Rosen, known in Los Angeles for representing celebrities in high-stakes criminal cases. Rosen immediately launched a media strategy to frame Chloe as a victim of both tragedy and public persecution. He told reporters outside the courthouse on September 3, "This is not a murder case. This is a story about a young woman who lost her husband in a terrible accident, and now she's being tried in the court of public opinion." Behind the scenes, however, the investigation was tightening. Forensic analysis of Ethan's bloodstream had confirmed the presence of sedatives in levels far too high to be accidental. Experts testified that the amount suggested deliberate administration rather than casual use. Detectives believed Chloe had either slipped the sedatives into Ethan's drink or that someone else had. They also continued to pursue the angle involving Liam Carter, the personal trainer. While no direct evidence tied Liam to the drowning, the phone calls, text messages, and neighbors' account made him a suspicious figure. The climax of the investigation came when detectives uncovered another piece of evidence: a deleted video file from Ethan's phone. Forensic technicians managed to recover it from backup storage. The video, recorded on July 13, the day before Ethan's death, showed Ethan filming himself in their living room late at night. His eyes were bloodshot, his tone agitated. He said, "Chloe doesn't care about me anymore. She's got her deal, her own future, and she doesn't want me in it. I know she's been seeing Liam. If something happens tomorrow, just know I saw it coming." The recording was a bombshell. While it did not prove Chloe's guilt in a court of law, it painted a haunting picture of a man who feared for his life. Detectives leaked the existence of the video to the district attorney's office, and soon after, to the press. Headlines screamed, "Ethan predicted his own death." For many, this erased any lingering doubt. Chloe's legal team pushed back, arguing the video showed nothing more than a troubled man spiraling under the weight of alcohol and paranoia. They insisted Ethan's words were not evidence of murder but reflections of his insecurities. Still, the court of public opinion was merciless. Social media exploded with commentary, hashtags like #GuiltyChloe trending across platforms. News anchors replayed the video endlessly, analyzing Ethan's body language and tone. As the DA prepared to bring charges, Chloe's personal life continued to unravel. The multi-million-dollar beauty endorsement deal was officially terminated. Sponsors who once courted her influence now distanced themselves, issuing statements about upholding values and respecting the legal process. Her once loyal fan base dwindled, with former followers unfollowing en masse. Chloe, who had built her empire on attention, now found herself isolated under the glare of unwanted scrutiny. The climax intensified further when investigators revealed that Chloe had taken out a new life insurance policy on Ethan in May 2021, just 2 months before his death. The policy, worth $1.5 million, named Chloe as the sole beneficiary. When asked, Chloe claimed the decision had been mutual and practical, part of future planning. But to detectives, the timing of the policy was suspiciously convenient. Combined with the beauty contract, financial records painted a portrait of someone positioned to benefit significantly from Ethan's absence. Meanwhile, Liam Carter faced his own wave of media attention. Reporters camped outside his gym demanding answers. He continued to deny any involvement, but his reputation was damaged. Clients canceled training sessions and fitness brands quietly pulled back from partnerships with him. While prosecutors hesitated to label him a co-conspirator without hard evidence, his connection to Khloe fueled speculation. On September 10, 2021, the Beverly Hills Police Department executed a search warrant on Khloe's mansion. Officers seized more electronics, bank documents, and personal journals. Neighbors watched as Khloe, dressed in casual sportswear, stood in her driveway surrounded by flashing cameras and officers in uniform. For many, it was the image that symbolized her fall from grace, the glamorous influencer reduced to a suspect in her husband's death. The tension peaked days later when the DA announced that Khloe Sanders would be formally charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter in connection with Ethan's drowning. The announcement sent shockwaves through Los Angeles and beyond. Reporters swarmed the courthouse, eager for the spectacle of a young influencer facing trial for her husband's death. Khloe, maintaining her innocence, surrendered voluntarily with her attorney by her side. She appeared in court on September 15 for her arraignment, wearing a simple black dress, her once polished image now replaced by exhaustion and fear. She pleaded not guilty to all charges. The judge set bail at $2 million, which Khloe posted within hours, allowing her to return home while awaiting trial. Still, the message was clear. The justice system now saw Ethan's death not as an accident but as a crime, and Khloe was at the center of it. The rising conflict had reached its climax. Investigators had built a case filled with motive, opportunity, and damning circumstantial evidence. Khloe had gone from influencer royalty to criminal defendant. The world, once enchanted by her curated life, now waited to see whether she would be convicted of letting fame and fortune drive her to murder. The trial of Khloe Sanders began in late January 2022 in Los Angeles County Superior Court. By then, months of speculation and relentless media coverage had turned the case into a cultural spectacle. Every day, crowds gathered outside the courthouse, eager to catch a glimpse of the woman once admired for her beauty and luxury lifestyle, now standing accused of murdering her husband. Inside the courtroom, prosecutors laid out their case methodically. They presented the CCTV footage of Khloe standing by the pool as Ethan drowned, the toxicology reports showing sedatives in his system, the newly uncovered life insurance policy, and Ethan's final video recording predicting his death. They painted Khloe as a woman driven by greed, jealousy, and ambition, someone who saw her husband not as a partner but as an obstacle to her own success. The defense countered by portraying Ethan as a troubled man consumed by alcohol and insecurity. They argued that his paranoia led him to record videos and messages that exaggerated reality. They emphasized that no footage directly showed Khloe pushing Ethan into the pool, and they highlighted her claims of panic and fear in those crucial minutes. A failure to act quickly in shock, attorney Mark Rosen argued, does not equal murder. The trial lasted 6 weeks, filled with emotional testimonies from friends, business partners, and experts. Witnesses described Khloe as cold and calculating, while others insisted she had been trapped in a toxic marriage with a husband who resented her success. Liam Carter, the personal trainer, also testified, denying any involvement in Ethan's death and downplaying the extent of his relationship with Khloe. Though his presence added drama, prosecutors lacked evidence to implicate him directly. In March 2022, after 3 days of deliberation, the jury reached its verdict. Khloe Sanders was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter but not guilty of second-degree murder. The jury believed Khloe had not actively pushed Ethan into the pool but had willfully allowed him to die when she had the ability to save him. The verdict reflected a middle ground between accident and murder. Khloe's actions, or lack thereof, were criminally negligent, though not premeditated. The judge sentenced Khloe to 9 years in state prison. As the sentence was read, Khloe remained composed, her face expressionless behind the same dark sunglasses she had worn throughout the proceedings. To her supporters, she was a victim of circumstance punished too harshly. To her critics, justice had been served, though some believed she had escaped a harsher fate. Ethan's family expressed relief at the verdict. His mother, speaking outside the courthouse, said, "We just wanted the truth to be recognized. Ethan deserved better. He deserved to live." For Khloe, the end of the trial marked the end of her life as she had known it. The influencer career that had once seemed unstoppable was gone. Her sponsorships dissolved, her accounts abandoned, her name forever tied not to fashion or beauty but to betrayal and tragedy. In the months that followed, documentaries, podcasts, and books dissected every detail of the case. Analysts described it as a cautionary tale about the cost of fame, the dangers of curated online lives, and the dark reality behind filtered perfection. The story of Chloe and Ethan Sanders became more than a criminal case. It became a symbol of how love, money, and ambition could collide with deadly consequences. And so, what began as the glamorous rise of a young couple on Instagram ended in a courtroom, a prison sentence, and a tragic death at the bottom of a pool. The perfect life Chloe had presented to millions was revealed to be an illusion, shattered by envy, greed, and silence on a warm summer night in Beverly Hills.